All right, I just wanted to come out with a funny little story. So, I remember listening to this guy. He was like literally 100 and something years old. Like, he was ridiculously old. And he was one of like the oldest people around. And they were interviewing him, and they had said something about, to get to that age and to just, still be alive and what have you, what's your secret, whatever. And I thought the funniest thing was when he said, I just don't go to the doctors. He goes, you can't have a disease if you don't go to the doctors and they tell you something is wrong with you. Like if you don't go to the doctors, then you don't know there's something wrong with you, right? And it really made me laugh. And again, I'm not saying that this is like gonna work for everybody, right? But I definitely align with that message. I feel like people are diagnosed with stuff every single day. Then you end up getting put on pills and you end up, all this stuff. And it just starts leading to more things and more things and more things and more things, right? So it's like you try to manipulate one thing because that's what you're doing. You're just manipulating it. And then it throws the whole body out of balance. And now you've got side effects from the drugs and, all of that stuff. Well, they're not side effects. They're just effects. They're effects of the drugs. They're the ones you don't want, though, right? Because that's just, unfortunately, the way drugs work. But I thought it was really funny. So in other words, just don't go to the doctors. Like, you won't know you have a disease if you don't go to the doctors. And if you don't know, then you don't think about it. And it just doesn't become a thing, right? Now, clearly, if you have debilitating symptoms and something is like really wrong with you, but some people just ignore stuff. And they just keep going. And I know that sounds a little harsh for some people because they just can't relate to that on any level. But some people just don't freak out about stuff. And they just keep going, right? And I'm not saying that recipe would work for everybody, but I did find it really interesting. And I've always said this too. My grandfather told us that he had a friend who lived to be well over 100. He smoked and drank alcohol every day of his life. He never went to the doctors, ever. And it's just like, wow, there's something to be said about staying away from doctors. And these are not the only stories, as a matter of fact. Like, in my little research that you start digging in and you start looking around at a lot of these longevity things, and a lot of times these old people say, yeah, I just never went to the doctors, never. It's almost like somehow maybe doctors are part of the problem. I don't know, just food for thought. Signing out.